Day one, creating a home run offer. Okay, so what actually goes into making a home run offer? You've probably heard the concept 100 times. You're probably not even clear what it means anymore. So in this video, I want to break down the first fundamental, most crucial step to making money as a coach. It is having an offer so good, so great that people cannot refuse it, and putting it together, getting the marketing, the messaging, and everything just right and dialed in so that when people hear about it, they know they need to buy it. So there's a few things that go into that. Firstly is the success equation. I'm going to break that down for you. Secondly is like why we need to identify just one ideal client. How specific do we need to be, and what is a niche and what isn't a niche? The home run offer creation process. So even if you're at 50 or 100K per month, you can actually refine it even further to create a better offer. And if you're just starting, this is where you have to begin. There is no other starting place if you want to be successful. This is it. This is the genesis. Whether you're just starting, you need to start here. And even if you're doing extremely well, you need to come back here and re-look at this to get it even better. Finally, offer economics, the things that people neglect, the reason they can't scale their business, the reason their business doesn't produce any profit, the reason they're not making enough sales, that's all covered here in offer economics. It's pricing, value delivery, and all of those other things. So let's dive in. The success equation. You can see on the screen here, on one hand, we've got the offer, and on the other side, we've got the avatar. Now, you'll see there's no equal sign, but what we're really saying here is that if you get that right, it equals infinity, right? When you put the right offer in front of the right person at the right time, that is when you go from 0 to 100. And something that I've learned that I think you might find interesting as well is if you're 90% of the way there, you get no results, no returns. It's like in the Olympics, the sprinters and the runners that are just 0.01 second faster than the next person goes from first place to third place, or third place to first place, or, you know, they win the Olympics, they get the gold medal, they get the prize money, just 0.01 seconds slower, nothing. Absolutely nothing. And it's the same in what we're doing here. I was going to say marketing, but what we do is so much more than that. Client acquisition, growing a profitable business. We are exactly the same, because if we get 90% of it right, nobody clicks, nobody's interested, nobody converts, nobody buys. It's as sad and as simple as that. We have to be 100% correct. And that is when you go from like struggling under 10K a month to 100K a month, and the possibility to go even further overnight because you got the success equation right. And like I said, even if you're running a successful business right now, you are probably not optimally doing this, right? There's probably something missing that could be improved. So why we need to identify just one ideal client? Well, there's a saying that I'm not sure if I created this or if I heard it somewhere else and then just regurgitated, but it's something that stuck with me. Jack of all trades, master of none. We want to be the master of one. That is exactly the philosophy here with this one. We want to know our niche better than anyone else. We want to be able to speak to our market better than anyone else. We want to know intimately the pains, the problems, the desires that our market has. We want to tap into all of that in our messaging. And when we know the right person and we can put the right language in front of them, that's when we have success. Now, the resonance score I've talked about, that's matching the right message with the right person. You cannot have one message that's going to be a 100% match for multiple people. It's not possible. You can have a general message that is a 80% match for a whole bunch of people. Sure, you absolutely can. But you cannot have the right message, the perfect message that's to multiple people. Like think about, say you do weight loss. Let's say, you know, on one hand there's stay-at-home mums, and on the other hand you've got just, you know, working professional men, right? Think about just think about what message you could put out that's going to capture both. It might be like, you know, guaranteed weight loss in 90 days. They've all heard that before. That's not a 100, right? That might be 100% accurate in explaining what you do, but that's not going to drive massive amounts of people to take massive action. There's just no bite to that. It's weak. It's flaccid, right? Now, if you think about just picking one of those types of people, now all of a sudden we can put together a more compelling message. Think about like, the only proven weight loss solution for stay-at-home mums with screaming kids and no time. Lose X pounds in the next 90 days, right? When they're scrolling their newsfeed, what is going to stop them more? Lose weight in 90 days, a generic message that has no real meaning to them, no real identification to them, or that last one that is like they're looking at their phone, they're listening to a screaming baby, they know that they need to lose the weight that they gained during pregnancy and after birth, but they just don't know how to do it. They don't think they've got the time. That message, that's a slam dunk. That person is actually going to take action now. They're going to be moved from, apathy to action. And if you just put the general message out there, it might be 80% good, right? But it's not going to be 100. And unless we hit 100, we don't move people. We don't motivate people. We don't inspire action, right? That's why it's so important. And then the next step is like, most of you are probably watching this because, client acquisition is the biggest bottleneck in your business. But imagine a world where that actually wasn't the case. Imagine a world where you had clients coming in every day. Imagine a world where client acquisition wasn't actually a problem for you anymore. The problem was fulfillment. Now, if you have 5 different people and if you help 5 different kinds of people achieve 5 different kinds of results, right? You're going to have 5 different pathways. Heck, you might have 500 different pathways. And that's going to be very difficult. That's operationally complex. We don't want that. The other problem with that is you're not going to get the best possible client results because you're going to be better. Your system's going to be better for one kind of person. Like we could help chiropractors use our system, generate leads, and make more sales, right? And I'm sure it would work. But we haven't spent the necessary time in the trenches making it perfect for chiropractors, right? That's what you need to do. Your solution, your product needs to be exceptional. And you're not going to have an exceptional product doing 5 different things. It's just not feasible. On top of that, not only are you now going to not have an exceptional product, you're going to have a mess in fulfillment. Imagine all of these clients all needing all different things. Everyone's stretched. You're the only one that understands it because it was your brainchild. It was kind of like your system, your solution, whatever, but you're now trying to train a team to do it. And there's all of these different variables, right? So there's a lot of reasons why it's important. But as you follow this system, as you go through this challenge and client acquisition stops being the biggest challenge and the biggest bottleneck for your business, you're going to need to get better at operations. You're going to need to be able to provide consistently the same great result for all of your clients. And you simply cannot do that if you don't have one clear ideal client and one clear goal and outcome that ideal client is wanting to achieve. When you get that right and you combine that with the right messaging, right? We talked about earlier, the right marketing. So now you put the right marketing in front of the right people. You get the right people signing up. Now in fulfillment, they're all achieving their goals because you made it simple. You made it one pathway. Now they go and tell their friends about it. Like that's where you get this exponential loop. And if we don't have this part dialed in, that loop never takes hold. So how specific do we need to be? And what is a niche? That's another thing. Like, what is an offer? What is a niche? These are terms in the coaching industry that just get thrown around and nobody really knows. Nobody really defines them. Everyone has their own definitions and their own beliefs about it. And I can tell you from watching hundreds of clients go through this process, us going through this process as well, I can tell you what a niche is not. A niche is not accountants. It's not doctors. It's not coaches. It's not agency owners, right? It's not working men. What is a niche? It's something like high performance coaching for CEOs struggling to recruit and hire top talent. Or if we go back to the example we used before, it's stay-at-home mums who are struggling to lose weight with crying babies and no time. It's health restoration for blue-collar workers battling weight-related health issues causing them physical pain. It's coaches and consultants who are getting less than 5 clients per month and wasting money hiring marketing agencies that aren't working for them. That is how specific we need to be. If we want to hit 100 on the resonancy score, we cannot be less specific than that. Now, what we've got linked here is all of the best resources that we've ever created, right? These are things that our private clients have, all of that stuff, but I'm giving it again all to you guys for free. Like I said in the intro video, you know, in the beginning of this challenge, the thing that I was most afraid of when I sat down to create this, and well, when I had finished creating it really, was, am I giving too much away? So let's jump in now and look at the ideal client worksheet. Okay, let's pull that up. 1 second. Cool. All right, so what I want you to do is this sheet should be linked underneath this video, wherever you're watching it. The link should be clear. I want you to download this right now. Just simply go File, Make a Copy, right? And do this for all of the worksheets. This is how you do it. File, Make a Copy, save it to your own Google Drive folder, and create a folder called the Instant Clients Challenge. And you can keep all of these documents, scripts, and all of these things that you're going to get all in one place, right? So here's some questions to help you identify who your ideal client is, right? So what is the biggest problem that your ideal client faces that keeps them up at night? What are their biggest daily challenges and frustrations, right? So if we were looking at, say, the coaching niche, it's probably, you know, for coaches that are kind of just getting started, but they're getting some traction, but not enough. It might be, if I don't make a sale in the next 2 weeks, I'm not going to be able to pay my rent, right? That is something that is a huge pain and a huge problem. That's why I put together this challenge, is so that that problem is no longer a problem for you. But that's an example of an answer for that question. What are their daily frustrations and challenges, right? Sitting on their computer, not knowing what to do next, having no momentum and just feeling like nothing is moving forwards, posting content, getting engagement sometimes, or posting content and not getting engagement, but posting content, getting engagement, but not getting any clients. Nobody actually wants to do business because you've got no conversion system. Like, these are the daily frustrations and challenges of that niche. Now, whatever your niche is, you need to be listing the same things out here. What are their biggest fears, right? This is like what we talked about earlier with what is the biggest problem, what is the biggest fear. Now we want to start brainstorming more, because when we dive into this, we want to not just speak to the biggest fear or the biggest problem, but we want to speak to all of the problems and all of the fears that actually surround that. Then we flip the switch. We've looked from what does hell look like. Now let's look at what does heaven look like. So what are their hopes, dreams, and desires? Like, why did you start your coaching business? Was it so you could retire your wife, retire your husband, have more time for your kids, have an income stream that actually, you know, you wake up in the morning excited to go to work, excited to change people's lives for the better? Like, what are all of these things? List them out here for your niche, your market. And I should have said at the beginning of this, the first step is you need to take off your metaphorical shoes, strap on and lace up the flip-flops, the thongs, the hiking boots, the runners, the Nikes, whatever shoes your ideal client wears, right? Like, you need to become them. You need to step into their exact mentality. You have to understand them. You have to know these things, and you have to answer these questions as if you were them. That is the only way we can get the depth required to really make moves here. So before you even start answering this, you have to think from their perspective. Every answer you give here should be, if you surveyed 100 of your ideal clients, it should be the most common recurring theme. That is what your answers need to be here to show that you know your market. Next is, what do they secretly desire most? You know, maybe it's for the guy, it's the status. He's been kind of looked down on his whole life, and he wants to get that fancy car, he wants to get that fancy house, just to prove to not only the people around him, but himself, that he is valuable, right? What is that secret desire that's deep down motivating and driving them? When we can tap into that, we tap into another level, you know, of marketing integrity and intensity. What makes your ideal client happy? What do they like, right? And then what does a day look like in your ideal client's life? Like, walk through it. What time do they wake up? Do they read the news first thing in the morning? Do they read a blog? Do they listen to an audiobook? Do they go to the gym? Do they work out? Do they meditate? Do they read their Bible? Like, what does a day in the life of your ideal client look like? Next, what would push your ideal client to actually take action, right? So let's say we go back to that first example where the biggest problem is, if I don't land a client in the next 2 weeks, I'm not going to be able to pay my rent. Well, what's actually going to push your ideal client over the line to take action? Because, and it might be, I've been using that example a lot. So let's say like they've got a chronic health condition, right? So what's actually going to push your ideal client to take action? And not just the external circumstances like, they get a notice from their doctor that they only have 2 years to live. Like, I don't mean that. I mean the internal things, the internal drivers for people. Like, what's holding them back from taking action right now? A lot of the times it might be uncertainty around, the solution. Say you provide a natural health medicine, like, is it actually going to work? Like, what are the things that when removed, what are the obstacles that when removed is actually going to push your client forward to take action? What are the things that your ideal client complains to their friends and family about, right? So what are those personal matters, those things that are top of mind for your ideal client? What are they saying? What they feel like they've got low energy. They feel like, they don't have the drive and the motivation that they used to have. They feel apathetic. What are those things? What are those complaints that they're giving out? And then who else is selling them something similar, right? What is being sold and who is selling it? So we can get some ideas on what is already working in the market right now, right? What kind of messaging, what kind of, sphere are we stepping into? Is it a red ocean? Is it a blue ocean? Like, what does it look like? And then what is the one pain they're feeling right now so painful that they are actively seeking help for it? For example, take the chronic health condition. Perhaps it's physical pain, right? Perhaps it's feeling like they can't keep up with their kids anymore. Perhaps it's, not knowing if they're going to get a treatment that's going to work, right? Notice the same condition is going to generate a sphere, a multitude of different problems, of different pains. Our job here is to narrow in on what the biggest one is. For example, we go back to coaching the same person that if they don't land a client in 2 weeks, they're not going to pay rent. Another pain that they might be feeling is they feel inauthentic in their sales conversations. They feel like they have imposter syndrome, that they don't 100% believe in what they're doing. They feel like some of their clients aren't getting results, and that's worrying. They feel like they don't have a system to bring in new leads and that they're just spinning their wheels. Like, there's a lot of different pains and problems that your avatar, your ideal client, is going to be experiencing. But what is the one that is the biggest, most painful, most obvious, biggest shining bright light that they are actively seeking help for it? Or if they saw the solution, they would take action because it solves that major pain and problem. Now, using the information above, just go through, take all of your answers and actually describe your perfect client in detail. Give them a name, write about them in depth, everything you can think of. It should be about 3 to 5 in-depth paragraphs. So download this worksheet now, start filling it out, and we can continue on in the training. So pause this, download the worksheet, fill it out. After you've filled it out, just resume the video and maybe watch this section again if needed. Let's jump back in. Okay, so we've covered the right-hand side of the equation from memory, the way I had it laid out. The success equation, offer plus avatar. We have looked at the avatar. We have looked at our ideal client, and we understand why we need to really dial in and get clear on who that is. The next step then is putting the right offer in front of them, right? The biggest reason I see for coaches failing to grow their business is they don't understand the following foundational concept. Your offer must solve the biggest and most painful problem that your ideal client is currently facing and experiencing. Your offer must be as necessary to your ideal client as water, food, and shelter. They must believe that it is the right solution for them, that they will get to their desired situation the way they want to get there, and all of the above must be true. I see so many people solving small problems, so many people doing things that are insignificant, and then complaining that someone says $300 or $600 is too much money when everyone could get access to that. If I went up to you, even for say $3,000 or $5,000, if I went up to you and I said, I've got a Ferrari out back, I'll give it to you for $5,000, you're going to go and find the money. But if I'm saying to you like, I'll mow your lawn for $5,000, that's going to be a different response. All right, so your ideal client is here on the left. They want to be here. So I'm going to use this terminology quite a lot, and I do with our clients. On the left, right, you've got current situation. On the right, you've got desired situation, where they are and where they want to be. Now, your offer bridges that gap, right? Your offer gets them from where they are to where they want to be. And it does it in two ways. There's kind of two spheres here. Firstly, when they hear about it, they believe that it will get them to where they want to go. That's the perception side. And then the second part is when they come in and when they work with you, it will get them there, right? So there's the perception on the front end, and then there's the real achievement and the process on the back end. Now, I've used this graph for a long time. I think it really demonstrates well what we're looking to achieve and what we're kind of looking to avoid, right? So we've got two axes, the what and the who. Now, the more general, the lower down on the who, and the lower value, the lower down on the what. Now, I just touched on this example before. So let's say we're mowing people's lawns, right? It's very general on both axes. Anyone can do it. Anyone can mow a lawn. Most people can mow a lawn. Anyone can mow a lawn. Not everyone has a mower, but most people have one or could get one. So basically, every single person in the world, if they wanted to, could do this. And then on the other side, it's not a very big problem, right? It's just not that painful. Like if your lawn gets a little bit long, you'll either get someone to do it or you'll mow it yourself. You're not going to go out and spend $100,000 on the world's best lawn mower to just mow your backyard. Like it's just not going to happen. So this is a good example of an offer that is very commoditized, something that would be very hard to differentiate yourself in, and a good example of just like what not to do. Now, we can also think about it kind of from like let's go the agency kind of like you help people, grow their agencies, something like that, right? So at the next step up would be like, you work with beginner agency owners and you help them maybe get their first client. Like a step up from that is maybe you also help them with their sales or something like that. You make it more specific. It's for agency owners who are struggling with sales. That's more specific, right? Help agency owners do anything, help agency owners with their sales. And then right at the top, you only work with 7-figure agencies, right? So that's the who. That's very specific. There's not a large number of those people. And you're a consultant for 7-figure agencies. So only a very small number of people can actually, like, you could call yourself a 7-figure agency consultant, but for this example, let's actually assume that you can do what you say you can do and you're actually an expert. There's a small number of people that you help, and there's a very small number of people that are actually good enough at what they do to be able to provide genuine value to that market, right? So let's say you help agencies get from 7 to 8 figures. There's not many people on the planet that can actually do that and can actually help people with that, right? It's the same as if on the left-hand side where mowing people's lawns is, you are like a general practitioner, and on the far right, you are like the world's best brain surgeon, right? It's a different game. You're playing on a different level. And that's why the world's best brain surgeon can charge premium prices and be forever sought after. And same with the agency consultant that helps them get from 7 to 8 figures, right? And then the person mowing people's lawns, they're never going to be able to charge those prices, right? They're never going to be able to have the queue of people lined up down the street for their services. So that's the value curve. Now, a home run offer must. Here's a couple of rules to think about when you start, considering what your offer is now and what it needs to be to improve it, or if you don't have one, how to build it out. A home run offer must offer a solution to solving a big problem and achieving a dream outcome. There must be a big problem and a goal that you are actually, tying together. It also must be perceived as extremely likely to solve that problem. So, for example, if you say, I can get your agency from 7 to 8 figures, but you've got no track record and, you come off as like unbelievable, well, then they're not going to perceive it as likely to actually work, right? So if we have a big promise, that's great, but it has to be followed up by a perception that the likelihood to solve that problem is very high. For example, if you want to relax, you've got, I don't really take any medication, so I don't really know any of the drugs, but you've got meditation on one hand, and you've got some kind of relaxation drug on the other. Now, meditation is going to be perceived as, it might get me there, it might not. Whereas the drug, insert whatever drug that actually does this, that's $1 billion company, it's going to be perceived as extremely likely, basically certain, to solve that problem. Therefore, selling meditation is going to be much harder than selling that drug, because it's the same ideal outcome. It's the same dream outcome. It's the same problem that we're solving, but one is it might work, it might not, and the other is it will definitely work. Big difference. Now, a home run offer must not. So now we know what it must be. It must offer a solution solving a big problem and achieving a dream outcome, and it must be perceived as extremely likely to solve that problem. Now, it must not be perceived as taking a large amount of time to solve that problem, or be perceived as requiring a large amount of effort and sacrifice to solve that problem, right? So the more we can get down the time and the effort and the sacrifice, the more valuable our offer will be. Think of the brain surgeon, right? It's not going to take a large amount of time. It's perceived as very extremely likely to solve the problem, and it's not going to take a large amount of effort or sacrifice, right? And it's solving a big problem and achieving a dream outcome, right? So it's going to be a very valuable offer. Like, this is value, guys. This is how to create value. So we'll go through it one more time. A home run offer must offer a solution to solving a big problem and achieving a dream outcome. It must be perceived as extremely likely to solve that problem. It must not be perceived as taking a large amount of time to solve that problem, or be perceived as requiring a large amount of effort and sacrifice to solve that problem. If you follow that, you'll have the optimal value for your offer, and people will line up down the street to do business with you if you can take that idea and that offer and put it into words to put it in front of people. Now, so how do we do this? Start with a big problem and dream outcome in mind. Think through all of the challenges and problems that people will face on their journey to achieving that dream outcome. Then you create solutions for each of these obstacles so your ideal client can continue from A to B, their current to their desired situation, as quickly and as efficiently as possible. And do it in a way that makes sense economically for the business. More on this soon. Then create messaging around that core offer to have your ideal clients lined up down the street to buy from you. So, for example, this is like the front end, this is the marketing, of some of our offers that we've run in the past, right? So I'm looking for 5 coaching business owners who want to grow their coaching business to $100,000 per month using Instagram. We will generate you 20 plus inbound messenger leads, Instagram messenger leads, for you to set and close in the first 30 days, or you don't pay. Here's some other examples. I'm looking for 5 women struggling with hormonal issues who want a proven roadmap for long-term weight loss. Turn your expertise into a profitable online business. I will help you remove chronic pain from your life in the next 30 days, or you don't pay. Now, what we've got to kind of help you get the raw materials required to ever put something like that into work, because to get to something that's this refined, we need to know our avatar and we need to know what they want, and then we need to know what that perfect offer will be. So what I've put together and what I've included here for you for free is just like, there's a link somewhere here, probably underneath the video, to download the home run offer worksheet and fill it out. Let's have a look at it now. All right, so this is the crafting a home run offer worksheet. Your offer equals your niche times their pain plus their desires, a little equation I created for you. So my niche is blank, that's your avatar, who are struggling with blank, right? We want to kind of take the information that we've already got in our Identify Your Ideal Client worksheet and just transfer over the headline of that. So we can frame ourselves as thinking, who are we working with? Like who do we help and what do we help them with? And we can just put that right there. Now, we want to go through the A and the B, right? This is that transformation, the current situation and desired situation, which I've talked about a lot and will continue to talk about a lot. So what is your ideal client's current situation? Where are they at right now? What is that biggest problem that they're facing? What is your ideal client's desired situation? What is their goals? What is their main goal? What is the one thing that they really want to achieve? Then, what are your ideal clients' 3 to 5 key pain points? What's stopping them from getting to where they want to be? For example, they don't have a clear offer. They're not sure how to generate sales calls. They're not very good when they do get sales calls, so they don't make any sales, and they're not sure how to scale their business. Those are just some examples. Fill it in with your own. And like we talked about in the first video, or in the first worksheet, is put on the shoes, step into the identity of your ideal client before you go through this, because that is going to be the biggest thing that you can do to exponentially improve everything, is really tap into who is this person, where are they at in their life right now, what are they thinking about, what is their pains, what is their problems, because that is the magic sauce that makes this work so well. So then we go into what is the number one biggest problem that they got on the phone with you to solve, right? Like, what is that thing? What is that reason that they booked in? Like, if they did book in a call with you, what would that be? Is it because if they don't get a client in 2 weeks, they're not going to be able to pay their rent? And then what is the foundations that they need in place before they can solve that number one main problem, right? So chances are, you can't, for example, we'll just use ours. It's just like, if you don't know how to get, we're not getting any clients. Maybe that's the number one biggest problem. Well, what do they need in place before they can solve that problem? Well, they need a home run offer, right? So that's a foundational element that they need in place. So again, for example, if you're doing, weight loss, for me, the biggest problem is that they need to lose weight. But what are the foundational elements? What's that thing that they need before they can even start that process? Plug that in there. And then what is the second order consequence of solving the main problem, right? So what actually happens when they start to lose weight, right? What actually happens when they start to get clients or when they start to get sales calls? So in this little example here, it's like, well, the number one problem, I can copy this out just really quickly. The number one problem is they're not sure how to generate sales calls, right? The foundation is that they don't have a clear offer and they need a clear offer. And then when they do get sales calls coming in, they lack confidence on their sales calls. So that's an example of how you would fill this out. Now, what does their dream life and vision look like? All right, so that's where we plug in, what is the outcome that they actually want to achieve? They want more time freedom, more money freedom, independence, to have that nice car. What is the dream life and what does their vision look like? Right now, this is where we start transitioning. Like, a lot of this stuff, you'll be like, oh, that's kind of similar to the Identify Your Ideal Client worksheet, and it absolutely is, right? But now you're actually seeing we're starting to put it into a framework here, right? Even some of these are the same questions, but you'll see we've now got these 4 little steps, this little sequence of what we're using to package up an actual offer. Right now, let's look at your process. What does your client need to do to get from where they are now to where they want to go? So it might be like they need to create and refine a home run offer, right? They need to have a marketing system to bring in qualified calls to their calendar. They need a conversion process to turn cold traffic into high ticket clients. They need a team so they can remove themselves from the business and really scale, right? Like, what are the different steps that they need to go through? Now, I've got it to 4 here. You can put as many as you want, but what you'll probably find is that you're going to be able to bucket them down into maybe 3 or 4 categories, right? You might have 10 different steps, but when you really look at it, you're like, well, 1, 2, and 3 are kind of all getting the foundations right. And then 3 and, 4 and 5 is kind of like, well, that's actually the main problem that they're solving. So you can actually bucket them. So list out as many as you need, because this is, that the graphic I showed you earlier where the current situation is on the left, the desired situation is on the right, and the big arrow that connects them is the bridge. It is your offer. It is your process. Now, what is it costing your ideal client to stay where they're at? So what actually happens if they don't make a change? What actually happens if they don't, implement something different, right? What is it costing them to stay where they are? Is it time? Is it money? Is it, their health? Is it their happiness? Like, what's the cost of staying stuck? Now, what we do is we take this theory then and we put it into what we call pillars. So this is our kind of our little framework of, creating this is the framework we use to describe an offer. That's a better way of saying it, right? So what are the different pillars? Okay, so an offer should be based on 1 to 4 pillars. 3 is oftentimes a sweet spot. 4 can be good as well. And it's going to be based on the 1 to 4 key pains. It's usually the 3 key pains, and then the final one is kind of like their goal and the outcome that they want to achieve, right? So if we look at the pillars here, we've got some examples again. The first pain and the first problem is they don't know what to offer the marketplace and who to sell it to. Then they have no idea how to consistently get sales calls. Then if calls were coming in, they would not know how to sell, and they wouldn't get clients consistently. And then they don't want to be stuck working in the business. They want to work on the business. They want to have that sense of freedom, right? So those are examples of 4 pillars, but we're listing them like the problems. So write out what those problems are that your ideal client is struggling with right now. List them out now. Now, the offer pillars, now we want to actually turn those into, what we actually do. So we've got the problem, but what's the solution, right? That's what we need now. And that's going to become the main offer that you've got. So your offer pillars, turn the pillars from above into headings. You can give, the main steps, processes, whatever your offer is, we're going to break it into the pillars now. So we got foundations, main problem, second order consequence, and future pacing, right? And this is like the framework that I like to use. When we say, for example, if you're describing your offer to someone on the phone, that's the framework you would use. So you might have, for example, like a fitness offer might be, you've got fitness, nutrition, and accountability, right? Those are the 3 things that you need to put in place for all of your clients. So those would be the 3 things that you target. Like pillar number 1 would be fitness. Pillar number 2 would be nutrition. Pillar number 3 might be accountability, right? Or you might have a different foundational step that might be, goal setting might be the foundations, and then you've got fitness, nutrition, and accountability are the 3 steps to actually achieve that. So that's a good little fitness example there. And I've been using kind of similar offers, like a coaching for businesses kind of offer, but that's a fitness one, right? So you might call it your instant clients program, and step 1 is creating a home run offer. Step 2 is, that's a little, what you call a unique mechanism. It's giving your system a name, and then you'll explain what it actually does later. So for example, it's really like creating a home run offer, installing a lead generation system, conversion systems, and then scaling, right? That's what it is, clearly explained. And you can then take it another level and actually give each step of your offer a unique mechanism, or not each step, but 1 or 2 of the steps. You don't want to give everything a funny name, or, people will not really know what you're talking about, but one or two of the steps can be unique mechanisms. Now, pricing, we're going to talk about that a lot more in depth shortly. So you'll come back and fill out this pricing section, and then describe your offer in one sentence. So for example, you might say, stay-at-home mums with screaming babies and no time come to me when they want to lose 30 pounds in 30 days by following XYZ system, right? That's how you would kind of just summarize everything we've got into one clear, concise sentence. Now, delivery. So this is where you want to take your 4 main steps and actually break it down into what you're going to do. Now, it doesn't have to be week by week, right? But it's just an easy way to look at it. And I think that you should always have, like we've always done it ourselves, we've always had what you call like a client journey, like an ideal client journey. Now, what you've got to understand with coaching is like everyone is going to be different, right? Some people are faster, some people are slower, but you should still have the gold standard. You should still have what you want everyone to achieve. And what that allows you to do then is have a goal for what you want your fulfillment to do, so you can get better and better and better at achieving that goal, right? So you can get people through faster, more reliably, more consistently, because you know what you want to happen. If you don't know what you want, you're always going to be left with something, and it probably won't be what you want. So map out here, what exactly will each step look like? Like, what happens as soon as they sign up? What is the first thing that they need to work on, and what do they need, and what are the different steps? Then what does week 2 look like, week 3, week 4, all the way through to however many weeks your program actually is. 8 to 12 is a really nice sweet spot for anyone that's wondering. But you want to have, this is for you to build out your ideal client journey. This is like, if they follow this step by step, they will 100% achieve the result that you're promising them. So what is that framework? What does that look like? So go ahead, download this worksheet now, make a copy and fill it out so you've got it. And that's going to help you take, everything that you learned, identifying your ideal client, and now package it in a way that we know is going to actually get people interested. And when we explain it to them, they're going to understand and they're going to be inspired to take action. And it's like a little bit for them, right? And we're going to use some of this to create your sales pitch and stuff like that down the line. But it's also for you, right? Like, if you don't know exactly what your offer is, how is anyone else meant to understand it? Now let's dive back in, because the final section that we need to talk about is offer economics, right? There's always more than one way to provide a solution to a specific problem. Now, this is actually going to also, after you fill out that ideal client roadmap and path, I want you to do that first. But when you come back to this, you might have a new perspective in which you can go back and actually update what that looks like. So there's always more than one way to provide a solution to a specific problem. And your job as a coach, as a trainer, as a mentor, as a service provider, is to create the path from where your ideal client is right now to actually achieving that goal and that dream outcome, to the achievement of their dream outcome. And then create clear deliverables to help them get there, right? Like we've talked about, they're at A, they're in their current situation, they need to get to B, their desired situation. How can we get them there? Now, here's some rules to think through before you actually decide. Try to keep your cost to fulfill a client to 10% of the amount the client pays you. That's 90% gross margins. That means that if a client pays you $10,000, it should cost you less than $1,000 to provide the service to that client. Now, you're probably, especially if you're newer, you're probably looking at that and being like, one, what the hell? Like, it cost me 50%, like they pay me $1,000 and it cost me $500 in time. Or, if I hired a coach to do it, it would cost $500. And you're like, that seems pretty excessive. But what you've got to understand, and I think the story that really broke the beliefs for me is like the biggest companies in the world, they sell something that is almost free. Right? Like they sell something that is so cheap for them to produce that they can have large margins. Like if you think about how much it costs a cell provider to sign up a new account, they're charging you like $100 or, I don't know how much your phone plan costs, but $50, $100, $200 per month. But the cost for you to the cost to actually provide that service to you is like almost nothing. right? They're going to be much under that 10%, right? So the reason it's important, and again, this is kind of like stuff that I've only been learning recently as we grow towards 8 figures, is you're going to have to hire a team. You're going to have to then hire executives to manage that team, or managers to manage that team, and then executives to manage the managers. Now, all of that in and of itself doesn't necessarily, like, it will create more revenue and, better profits and stuff like that. But, it's detached. It has to come from extra money. Like, it has to come from you being so profitable that you can afford to do it. And this is something that I only learned recently about scaling our business, right? So if you think it's excessive, you need to understand as you grow, an actual company, not just you and, 3 other virtual assistants or something like that. As you grow a real company and you add in the wages, software, coaches, sales commissions as a sales team, advertising spend, your net margin, which is your profit, will be significantly less, right? So if your gross margin is 90%, your net margin, or your profit, it might only be 40, 50%, maybe even less. Coaching businesses are pretty good though. It might even be a little bit higher. But what's going to happen is if your cost to fulfill a client is 30 or 40% of what they actually pay you, all of a sudden every month you're only just breaking even, right? And there's no money left. Like, how are you going to hire a new CEO? Where's that money going to come from? The answer is it's not. You're not going to have the money there. You're not going to be able to do that. You're not going to be able to grow and have a real company. So you need to think about this from the beginning, guys. This is math that you should be doing every single time you think of providing a service. Like, well, how much is it going to cost me to fulfill? And if you're doing all the fulfillment, you have to think about the future. How much is it going to cost me in the future to fill? If I hired another coach to do this, how much am I charging? How much would I have to pay that coach? Is it more than 10%? If yes, you have to think of different ways to get around it, or you won't be able to grow a profitable business down the line. Now, to deliver on your promises, your program can be completely done for you, where you do everything for the client, or even your team does everything for the client. So they come on, you write their ads, launch their ads, manage their ads, or whatever that looks like. It's all done for you. If it was like weight loss, you would work out for them, right? Like that, it can be a completely done for you solution. A better example, that was a joke, obviously. But if it's like weight loss, like you do their shopping, right? You cook their meals, right? You work out with them in the gym. Like, you do everything for them, or everything that you can is done for them, right? That's a very hands-on, done for you solution. The next would be like one-on-one coaching, where you say do a weekly call with each client, and you walk them through, the problems that they're having, the next steps that they need to take, and you provide support in a one-on-one fashion. The next would be like they get access to a training portal and maybe some kind of group or community, and then there's some kind of coaching calls. Maybe they're one-on-one, maybe they're group, maybe they're monthly coaching calls, one-on-one, maybe they're weekly group calls. Like, I just added coaching calls in there, and that in itself is a variable, right? It can be all of those different things. It's up to you to design that pathway, right? Current situation to desired situation. What are the steps that they need to go through? And is it going to fit into the economics of the business? Another example might be access to a training portal with coaching calls just at key intervals throughout the process. So, when you complete your offer, you get a coaching call and someone goes through that with you, right? That would be an example of that. And then, like I mentioned, it's anything and everything in between. There are so many ways to design the optimal client journey. It's something that we've been doing now. Like, our client journey now might be the 30th official version, right? Like, it's something you can update and refine forever. And it's this not balancing act, but it's this beautiful dichotomy that we want to manage between, always prioritizing getting clients results. That's always the number one priority. But how I think of it is not like, how can I cut costs? It's like, how can I cut effort and sacrifice and time for the client, right? You remember the equation earlier of like what your offer must do and what it must not do, right? It must not require a lot of sacrifice and effort, and it must not require a lot of time. So when I'm thinking about this process, I'm thinking about like, how can we definitely get them the result that we promise, but then how can we do it so that they aren't, having to sacrifice, and they aren't wasting a lot of time, and it happens quickly. Those are the things that I'm thinking about to actually, make this equation the best it possibly can be. And that's what we're, continuing, like we improve on it all of the time, right? And you should too. So the key is that after you factor in paying your coaches, service delivery team, client success manager, yourself, all of those things that are going to come when you have a real business, your cost works out to be about 10% of the amount the client pays you. That will create a very profitable business that will also allow you to provide better service. Like, for example, that's going to allow you to have a team of people that work with each client. It's going to allow you to have, client success managers and all of these other things that if you do it the wrong way, you'll never be able to provide. It's going to allow you to provide so much more value and get such better client results. You might think it kind of like flipped, that like if you really care about the economics and if you really think about the business side of things, that, that's just going to, that's cutting costs, that's employing cheap people, that's, sacrificing client results. Is like, no, client results are everything. That's the main primary focus. But if you also treat the business right and you create a profitable business, then you're going to be able to create a better business and a better service. As you grow and as you scale, as you get bigger, you can do things better than you ever could before. And you have to get the off economics right. And this is what every coach under 100K per month, and most coaches under 8 figures, they neglect this. They don't get this part right. And I'm teaching this to you early so that you do get it right, because it's so important. Now, how do we decide on the price then? Because that's obviously going to be one of the biggest levers that we can pull, thinking about how do we get the economics right? It's like, well, on one hand, you've got the price that you charge, and on the other hand, you have the cost to fulfill, right? So there are 3 key factors I think about when deciding on price. So A is, how do I have to price my services to achieve 90% gross margins, right? So that's something I'm thinking about. How can I do that? What does my price need to be so that I can still pay everyone that needs to get paid to deliver amazing client results? B, how can I get that price into the range where it would be an absolute no-brainer for my ideal clients, right? So we have to balance this. This is a sliding scale. This is another equation. This is another, we talked about the offer and avatar match. This is another one. This is the economic sweet spot match. And then this is an interesting one that most people forget as well is, you can think, okay, so it's going to cost me, $500 or $1,000 to provide the service at a 90% gross margin. So that means I'm going to have to charge $5,000 or $10,000, but I've never taken sales calls before. Well, you're probably not going to have the skills to sell. You might a 5. Honestly, just starting sales, 5's relatively hard to sell without really great frameworks and really good training. But that's going to be quite hard to sell compared to, $2,000 or $3,000. So you have to think about, like, where's your skill at? Like, because this isn't pie in the sky. This is reality, guys. Like, this is what's going to happen when you walk out into the trenches with your rifle. Like, you're like, oh yeah, I've got this big dream. I'm completely new. I'm going to sell a $20,000 program. It's like, cool. How good are you at sales? How good is your marketing, right? Because you need to be able to actually make sales to have any of this work, right? So you need to get it in the sweet spot. So I want to be a premium price leader in my market, and you should want to as well, so that you can provide a truly fantastic service. And then, because think about, like, the less you charge, the less amazing you can make your product, right? If you charge $500, you're only going to be able to create a low value product ever. Even if your margins are 0 and you take no profit, you've still only got $500 there. So there's still a limit on how amazing you can make your product. But by stripping away all of the delivery elements that are unnecessary in your offer, right, and leaving only the things that are truly necessary and provide high levels of value, your offer becomes more time and money efficient. That's what I was talking about before. How can we remove the time, barrier for our clients getting their results? How can we remove the cost barrier for our clients getting results? Now, one huge problem that I see in the coaching space right now is that people are trying to and failing to become premium price leaders in their markets because they're not good at they're not good enough at either marketing or sales or both. Right? It takes a very different set of skills, guys, to sell something for 12 grand than for $2,000. And for some reason, this is almost always neglected to consider. You join a program and they say you want to charge 5 or 10 grand. It's like, well, yeah, but are you going to equip me with the skills to actually make that a reality? Because it sounds nice on paper, but if you're not closing deals, it's not going to sound very nice at all. So you need to become the premium price leader in your market, but you need to do it in a way that you're actually going to have positive cash flow from the beginning. Right? So even if you want to become a premium price leader in your market, you still have to earn the ability to do it. You earn the ability by constantly evolving your marketing and sales abilities. That's why I suggest a process that I call scaling price. So if you've been in business for 5 years, you've been selling the same offer for 5 years, you've been marketing the same offer for 5 years, and you are, say, new to any kind of other system, you're going to swap over your marketing or whatever, you can probably charge a much higher price than someone that's just starting because you have proven sales and proven marketing ability, right? So deciding on price, here's the philosophy, or here's my philosophy, is first create flow, then add friction. The biggest mistake is people worry that their delivery isn't scalable before making their first sales. So in the beginning, you have no flow. And likely that's because you lack the necessary skills. So the first step is to make offers that are so crazy your ideal client would not be able to refuse giving you money. So money back guarantees are great, pay for performance, etc. This will hone your skills. And for those of you that are afraid of doing the work, you can't cheat it. There's no way you can cheat the work. Your product has to be good. And you'll learn that either now or down the line, your product has to be good, right? And the easiest way to get flow in the beginning is make a crazy offer. Make an awesome offer that's also going to allow you to charge a fair price for it, right? So while the next step to that then is while charging that lower price. For example, you're doing one-on-one coaching at a price typically associated with group coaching or courses. Say you're doing one-on-one coaching for $2,000. Now, if this is just you and if you're just starting, you'll still be at 90% net margins at $2,000. And then as you grow and scale your team, you might go from 2,000 to 4,000, 4,000 to 6,000, 6,000 to 8,000, 8,000 to 10,000, right? As you grow your team and as you develop the skills. I really want this to sink in for you guys. In the beginning, you don't have the skills. You need the skills. So as you improve your skills, you can also increase your price. As you create more, or as you build more team members and create better results for your clients, you can increase your price, right? It's a scale, I call it scaling price. And I think so many people really F this up because they go to market, they've got no sales skills, no marketing skills, they've got no team, and they're trying to sell, a group program for $10,000. It's just it just doesn't work. You just don't see it work. You need to be in that sweet spot where people believe that the value is far exceeding the price. People believe that there's not much risk to work with you. You can charge a price where you're still extremely profitable and it works really well for your margins. And then you can actually get flow, right? And that's the first step. Now, like I said, this will create the flow. Now, and only now that you have the flow, we can add friction, right? So friction would be, say, selling a group program instead of one-on-one because people believe they're more likely to get a result with one-on-one. So remember, as you add friction, you will again see sales will probably dip. Not because the changes you made were wrong, but because you're ascending to a new game where a new level of marketing and sales skills are required to win. It's not the same to sell a 12K package versus a 2K package, or a group coaching program or course versus a completely done for you solution, right? You are leveling up the game. And that is why in the beginning, you want to sell the thing that people want to buy. As you improve your skills and as you improve the system of fulfillment, you can stop selling a completely done done for you solution, you can start selling a program or a course, or stop selling one-on-one coaching and start selling group coaching, because now you've worked with clients, you know how it works, you can actually build a program that gets people results. And when people are like, oh, I don't know about a group thing, I was really hoping for one-on-one, or, oh, that seems kind of expensive for a group, you've got the sales skills to be able to easily overcome that. And what's more is that doesn't come up anymore because your marketing's better, your sales is better, all of that stuff. So in the beginning, that is what you would hear. And you'd be like, oh, crap, I guess I'm not making a sale today. But as your skills improve, those things fade away, and it allows you to make these changes and add this friction. So, for example, one way of adding friction is to raise the price. So step one is you sell 5 clients for $2K, at $2K for one-on-one. And then you start selling the same thing at a higher price at $3.8K. Another step then, like you can add friction in 2 ways. You can raise the price, or you can systematize and tweak fulfillment to be more scalable. So the second one then is, after you sell the done for you or one-on-one coaching, you keep the same price, but you actually lower the cost to fulfill. So you add group elements, or you add a training portal in, etc., etc. So those are the 2 levers, right? Like you can raise the price, or you can, systematize and improve your fulfillment. So in summary, step number 1, create flow by selling high value services with guarantees, basically offers that people cannot refuse to buy, because that will generate flow. And I know I'm kind of ranting on this, but I cannot stress how many coaches with so much potential never made it because they burnt out trying to sell something that no one wanted when they didn't have the skills to make it happen. If they'd have followed this process, they would have been successful. Number 2 is make 5 sales at that level to prove you have the necessary marketing and sales skills to graduate to the next level, right? And if you get stuck, you need to improve your offer again, or improve your marketing and sales skills, or both, right? That is the process, and we can go through it again and again and again as we continually raise our price. Think of it as like a set of scales. We can either raise our price or systematize our fulfillment. And we're going to keep iterating through that until we have a high price with very systematized fulfillment. Oh my gosh, the goal, the dream outcome has been achieved. And that we get there, right? But you need the skills to back it up. Too many people start, this is I could sell 1,000 clients a month. It's so scalable. It's 20 grand. And they forget that they don't have the skills to actually do it. Like I'm telling you, you will have the skills. You will get there. But people do it in reverse order. You need to do it the right way. This is just what I've seen. And like I said, I've seen so many coaches fail, burn out, because before they even try and get flow, they add like 1 million tons of friction, and they don't make any sales, and then they have to go back to their job and they just don't know what didn't work. It's like, we need to create flow first. You need to have a profitable business first. Then you can add friction. Then you can worry about how to scale. Then you can raise your price and do all of those things. So I think, you increase the price, and in summary again, increase the price and or decrease your involvement in fulfillment. Example, moving from weekly one-on-one calls to structured training portal with coaching calls as required, so your clients still get amazing results. Remember, client results is the most important thing always. If we ever make a change that lowers client results, we revert back, because that is the most important thing. And then you repeat until you have a process that your clients can follow to consistently achieve their dream outcome in a way that makes your business extremely profitable. Always remember, the client results are everything. Never sacrifice the success rate of your clients along the way. Instead, every change you make to your product or program should increase the chances your clients will achieve their dream outcome and remove unnecessary time and effort on their part to achieve it. Cool. Now you've got the link again to go through and download the home run offer worksheet. If you haven't already, go through that, and also go through the avatar and offer worksheets again if you filled them out, so that they can be absolutely up to date.